Hello everybody, Azortharion here. And just a few minutes ago, Blizzard announced a bunch of really cool changes for all 3 hunter specs and pack leader on the 11.1 PTR. So spoiler alert, almost all of these changes are really encouraging and good. So let's just go through it. Implosive Trap knock-up radius has increased to 8 yards. Implosive Trap is our knock-up, sort of our AoE stop. It is now more reliable for large packs at knocking absolutely everything up, with its radius being, close to double. So this is just great change, because sometimes if the pack wasn't super stacked, you could end up in scenarios where you're trying to AoE stop something, but you don't catch everything with the Implosive Trap. That will hopefully be fixed now. They've also updated the visuals of a bunch of things, including our Trank Shot, our Kick, Cheetah, Implosive Trap, High Explosive Trap, Post Haste and Disengage, so really cool stuff here. I haven't seen them myself, but I can only assume that it's going to be an upgrade. That's the 100 generic stuff, so next up is Beast Mastery, really cool stuff here. So new talent, Thundering Hooves. Casting Explosive Shot causes all active pets to stomp at 200% effectiveness. So Stomp was actually buffed baseline in 11.1, so 200% effectiveness on that buffed Stomp is absolutely insane, and this will make Explosive Shot a super juicy button to press when you're playing BM. Whereas right now Explosive Shot is kind of this low prio filler that you don't even press on single target, and even on AoE it's kind of take it or leave it. Well, now Explosive Shot is going to be really exciting on AoE, so quite happy with that. Additionally, Poisoned Barbs has been updated, now also applies Serpent Sting. So Poisoned Barbs is this new talent over here that basically causes direct damage from barb shot to have a 30% chance to explode, dealing nature damage AoE. Well, now this will also apply Serpent Sting, meaning your barb shots will sometimes splash and apply AoE Serpent Sting when you're playing BM. This is just awesome, huge numbers buff as well. Same with the Thundering Hooves thing here, so huge AoE numbers increase for BM. And of course, it brings back AoE Serpent Sting, which a lot of people like. So good stuff. They've also essentially doubled the potency of the 4-set bonus. Now, until pretty recently, this wasn't even working on PTR, so it's hard to really say, if this was a much needed buff, but certainly this damage being doubled is a good thing. Barb Shot visuals have been updated, as well as its travel speed has been increased. Now, I did spend a little bit of time thinking about this travel speed. There's probably something that I'm missing in terms of where it matters, because of course, it's not that Frenzy is tied to its travel speed. Frenzy applies to you when you cast Barb Shot. So increasing its travel speed, I'm not quite sure what it fixes, but there's probably something I'm missing there. You can let me know in the comments below. Serpent Sting is no longer tracked on nameplates for Beast Mastery only. This makes sense because actually knowing that Serpent Sting is active is kind of worthless. Because you don't really play around it. We are now adding Serpent Sting AoE to the kit, but it's not something we're going to play around. It's just going to be, through this Poison Barbs talent, it's just going to happen all on its own. Explosive Venom has been removed. Now, this calculator is not quite updated yet, but Explosive Venom is this talent down here, which was every 3 cast of Explosive Shot or Multi-Shot will apply Serpent Sting. So this was our old way of applying AoE Serpent Sting. We almost never picked this talent because it was just way undertuned. So they've gotten rid of that, and presumably that is what they're going to replace with Thundering Hooves, which is this likely quite powerful AoE talent. So they've taken away a very weak talent that almost nobody used and replaced it with a really cool one that will probably see some play. So this is just a big thumbs up. That's the Beast Mastery general changes. Next up is Dark Ranger BM specific. They've increased Black Arrow's damage a little bit, so a Dark Ranger BM buff. They fixed an issue causing unnatural causes to base... this, I guess, is more of a compensatory thing. So unnatural causes was actually buffing Black Arrow twice, something like that. And they've now fixed that bug, but luckily, instead of just fixing it and leaving it alone, they've added a compensatory buff to it. So good stuff there. Next up, and this is a fairly big one, Withering Fire has been updated. Now triggers from Call of the Wild instead of every 3 Bastille Rafts, and it lasts for the duration of Call of the Wild. It no longer allows Black Arrow to be used on any target HP number, but it will also grant Deathblow automatically every 4 seconds for the duration of Withering Fire. Now, there's one thing here that I just want to point out, a little detail. So obviously what we're talking about is this. This will now trigger on every time you cast Call of the Wild and last for the full 20 seconds. and it will grant you Death Blow every 4 seconds. Death Blow meaning you get an automatic Black Arrow proc every 4 seconds during Call of the Wild. And additionally, when you fire these Black Arrow procs during Withering Fire / Call of the Wild, they will also do a little bit of AoE damage. Now, one thing that's worth noting here is that what does Call of the Wild actually do? So, every time it summons a pet, the cooldown of Barb Shot and Kill Command are reduced by 50%. So, and it summons a pet every 4 seconds, as you can see. During this time, the 20-second period, a random pet from your stable will appear every 4 seconds to assault your target. So essentially, every 4 seconds during Call of the Wild, we are now going to have a Black Arrow proc, and we are going to have significant cooldown reduction on Barb Shot and Kill Command. And I'm not really sure that I like the gameplay implications of this, because essentially it means that, you know, you're going to be doing your opener every 4 seconds. So this means at the 16, 12, 8, 4, and I think 0 second marks throughout Call of the Wild, throughout the buff duration, you're just going to, like, suddenly they're just going to throw all these abilities at you. They're going to throw Kill Commands at you that you can use, Barb Shots, they're going to throw Black Arrows. And what I worry is the case there, that if they don't stagger the generation of these Death Blow procs and these Call of the Wild Kill Commands and Barb Shots, that you're just going to be completely overwhelmed with GCDs that you're unable to use, and you're going to be overcapping on your Kill Commands, you're going to be overcapping on your Barb Shots, and you're going to be unable to use your Black Arrows in a timely manner. So it would be much better if, for example, Withering Fire was still every 4 seconds like they say, but it was like in a staggered fashion from the pet summons from Call of the Wild. Because otherwise I think that this will actually just make Call of the Wild too GCD bloated in my estimation. So, but like generally speaking, it is a very good change. The whole free Bestial Rares thing, when you got it on a bad Bestial Rare, it was just really sucky. Now that you always have it on a 2-minute cooldown, that's a significant bonus to our both single target and AoE burst with Dark Ranger. And it just, makes way more sense. So, positive change overall, but I do have a little bit of concern about getting so many GCDs thrown at you at the exact same time throughout your Call of the Wild window. Next up are some substantial changes for Pack Leader. So Shell Cover now triggers at 60% HP, and its cooldown has been reduced to 90 seconds. So Shell Cover is, it's still really bad. So it's when dropping below 60% health now, it summons the 8 of a turtle, reducing the damage you take by 10% for 6 seconds, and this will happen once every 90 seconds. This was a laughably bad defensive node before. It's still laughably bad. It'll trigger a bit more often. Fine. It won't take huge chunks to trigger. And of course the cooldown is reduced by 10% DR for 6 seconds that you don't even choose yourself when you want to trigger. This is just a bad defensive node. I appreciate the buff, but it's just not enough. If they want Pack Leader to even remotely compete defensively with Dark Ranger's smokescreen, then, Shell Cover needs to be something active in my estimation, because what makes Smokescreen so insanely powerful is that you can just exile as a super powerful DR, and exile, of course, especially with the new Wilderness Medicine, has a substantially reduced cooldown. So yeah, that's my take on that. Additionally, and this is for both Beast Mastery and Survival, Howl of the Pack Leader's related auras will now expire while out of combat, and it will now be reapplied upon entering combat. So this was basically... oops. Just pressed the totally wrong thing there. This basically meant, every 30 seconds you rotate the pet that you're going to spawn with your Howl of the Pack Leader when you're playing the new Pack Leader. Well, this was rotating out of combat as well. And you could essentially pre-hit things with your kill commands before dungeon started, for example, so that you could start the Mythic Plus dungeon with the right pet, which was kind of degenerate and not fun gameplay. I guess it's strictly speaking a nerf in that you can't manipulate it anymore. But I still think it's overall a positive change that we're not forced to do silly stuff like that. And they've also reset the summon order on Raider Mythic Plus Encounter Start. Because another thing about this, it was making it so that you had to, it would go on and off essentially, whether you had the Howl of the Pack Leader attached to your kill command or not. And so you wanted the pull to happen when it was obviously active. And if it didn't happen while it was active, well, you were just kind of screwed. So you would have to be like, hey, raid leader, please do an X second pull timer specifically for me. Just really degenerate. Anyway, I also fixed an issue with Die Cleave was granting incorrect beast cleave damage. I'm not intimately familiar with the nature of this bug, but yeah. Alright, that covers BM. So next up is Marksmanship. Pretty long list, but I won't go into the finer details of every single bug. But new talent, this is the big one. Marksmanship is getting its pet back. So Unbreakable Bond, regain access to Call Pet. While outdoors, your pet deals 15% increased damage and takes 15% reduced damage. So they mentioned that they want this, and let me just read the developer's note actually. We appreciate your continued feedback with regards to the 11.1 Marksmanship update. We recognize that there is a community of marksmanship hunters that wish to retain access to their pets. And while Marksmanship's unique Eagle Pet will continue to be the source of their pet utility, such as Master's Call, Bloodlust, and similar effects, we think it's only right that Marksmanship hunters be able to continue to traverse Azeroth with their beloved companions. So, I mean, this is just 100% a positive thing. The thing is, like, so even if you're the kind of person who didn't really care about the pets, like, you lose absolutely nothing from this, while the, thousands of people who do care about having their pets out as Marksmanship, they're just made happy. So this is just a win-win. Now, something I'm only like 90% certain of currently is that they mentioned when they first announced this change that it would be a choice node with improved Spotter's Mark down here. So it will be a DPS loss to run with the pet for Marksmanship, but that's kind of what we're used to begin with. So how big the DPS loss will be, that remains to be seen. There needs to be some number crunching because we'd have to quantify the value of improved Spotter's Mark against this, against the pet, which like currently on live servers, your pet will do maybe like 3% of your single target damage. Increasing that by 15%, that's a pretty small effect ultimately, and I suspect it'll be significantly less than improved Spotter's Mark, but yeah. Alright. Intimidation has been updated, now requires line of sight against non-players. I guess previously you could pet stun people, you could pet stun NPCs through walls, which was not smart. They've also buffed the 4-piece bonus, so consuming lock and load now fires an explosive shot at 300% effectiveness, was 200%. I'm not sure, I mean, I don't know the numbers intimately well enough, like in terms of sims and stuff, because we don't have them yet, to say if this was a much needed buff, but, we'll take it for sure. They've also changed the 4-piece bonus from the old raid, because essentially the new talent bonuses have made it obsolete. They've made it extremely weak, but I mean, you're not going to be in the old tier for that long going into the new season, so kind of who cares, my estimation. Then there's just a huge number of bug fixes. Like, I won't go over them in detail, but like, so this suggests to me that they've probably been looking at the amazing Hunter bug spreadsheet that's been run by Tarlo and Co and Liku and others for all 300 specs, and I'll link to that in the description below, because that's sure to be updated after this post has gone out. But yeah, it looks like Blizzard is actually paying attention to that spreadsheet and, going through and fixing some of the more egregious bugs. Now, I'm certain that there will be more, and hopefully they will continue this trend, but it's very encouraging. And so also, thank you, Blizzard, for fixing bugs in such large numbers. It's greatly appreciated. Aspect of the Hydra no longer has an internal cooldown and will work correctly with queued spells. So this was just addressing something where, let's say you would find arcane aim shot, and then you would queue up an arcane immediately after. Well, the aim shot, let me just remind you what Aspect of the Hydra is. Aspect of the Hydra is the 2-target cleave talent. So it means that aim shot, rapid fire, and arcane will now hit a second target for 40% of their damage. Well, because, as you can even see in the tooltip here on the website, that it has a 100 millisecond internal cooldown. But sometimes you will actually fire these abilities within 100 milliseconds of each other. So what would happen previously is that you would aim shot into arcane, and because the arcane happened within 100 milliseconds of the aim shot, because the aim shot has a cast time and happens at the end of the cast, and arcane shot is an instant, well, the arcane shot wouldn't benefit from it, and, the talent was kind of losing a ton of value from that. Well, by removing the internal cooldown, and basically just clarifying that it works correctly with queued spells, that is now fixed. So yeah, that's essentially a buff to the talent. They have also nerfed it, but this is so basically, Aspect of the Hydra will now more robustly check to make sure it's casting on a different target than your current target. So what does this really mean? This means that there was a bug where Aspect of the Hydra, these extra aim shots and rapid fires and arcanes that are hitting secondary targets, well, they would actually just hit your main target twice when you pick this talent, making it super OP for single target. Obviously not the intention, so they fixed that. That's about it. Also fixed an issue causing unnatural causes to benefit Volley's direct damage. Honestly, guys, I didn't even know about this one because Volley does kind of pathetic damage, but I think no harm, no foul on that one. Now, some Marksmanship Dark Ranger specific changes. So Withering Fire has been updated. It still no longer allows Black Arrow to ignore health requirements. Basically, it will reduce the number of Black Arrows you have total, but they've increased the number of Black Arrows total. And as they mentioned here in the developer's note, Marksmanship does not struggle to generate Deathblow procs, so this effect was largely being wasted, and that's true. It didn't feel very fun getting way more procs and potential uses of Black Arrow that you couldn't really use. Fixed issues with Phantom Pain's interactions with Double Tap and Aspect of the Eagle. Aspect of the Eagle is the survival thing that makes... I'm not completely sure what they mean by that. Maybe they meant Hydra. Because Double Tap and Hydra are obviously essentially effects that make things hit more times. And so I'm not intimately familiar with the nature of this bug, but essentially when aim shots damage is affected... Yeah, so I guess that it would double trigger, so when you double tap, your aim shot hits twice, and so when aim shot damages a target, that would happen twice. 8% of the damage dealt. I guess that was double dipping, and they didn't want that to happen. Or maybe they wanted to double dip, and it wasn't. Honestly, I'm not completely sure in which direction this bug went precisely, but yeah. Fixed an issue causing natural causes to benefit Black Arrow's direct damage, rather than just its periodic damage. So yeah, just making it do what it actually says it's going to do, which is unnatural causes. Your damage over time effects deal 10% increased damage. That was also affecting the instant hit of Black Arrow, which is obviously not intended. Next up is Survival. So, brand new talent, Wildfire Arsenal. Quick Shot. So, Quick Shot are basically when you get these... when you cast Kill Command, you have a 30% chance to fire an Arcane Shot at your target. So, basically every third Kill Command... and your auto attacks with two-handed weapons, which is, all of them, increase the damage of your direct damage of your next Wildfire Bomb by 4%, stacking up to 3 times. I mean, it's a little bit boring, so you'll stack this up, you won't reach the full 12% immediately, but when you do cast Coordinated Assault, it grants 3 stacks of Wildfire Arsenal, so I guess... I don't know why, really, or what the sort of thinking is here between adding this ramp-up Wildfire Bomb damage mechanic. Yeah, honestly, I don't really see the flavor or the gameplay incentive here compared to it just increasing Wildfire Bomb's damage. On that note, they have removed Improved Wildfire Bomb, which was, an extremely boring talent that just Wildfire Bomb deals 8% additional damage. And they've given Wildfire Bomb 6% damage in return. They write here that, as previously stated, a goal we have in 11.1 is to reduce how crowded Survival's rotation can feel and open up the opportunity to cast Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite more. A goal with these changes is to reduce access to Wildfire Bomb and provide some throughput as compensation. So, fair enough, and we'll get into how they're reducing access to Wildfire Bomb next. But one more other thing, so Viper's Venom has been updated, now also increases Mongoose Bite and Raptor Strike damage by 15%. So just straight up pretty substantial survival numbers buff here by just baking in a 15% Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite damage buff into Viper's Venom, which is a talent that we virtually always pick. Contagious Reagents has been updated. Now spreads Serpent Sting to 4 nearby targets instead of just 2. So this is basically when you reapply Serpent Sting, which is basically what you do whenever you Raptor Strike. Instead of just applying Serpent Sting to up to 2 nearby enemies, it will apply up to 4. So we could always have AoE Serpent Sting before, but now it will more quickly stack up to more targets, and it will be a much better talent for sort of mass AoE scenarios, which is great in Mythic Plus. So basically just a straight up AoE buff, and who doesn't like AoE Serpent Sting? Explosives Expert has been updated. Now increases Wildfire Bomb and explosive shot damage by 2.5/5%. So this is this really lame 2-pointer that we have here, blocking out Fury of the Eagle. I still think it's quite lame that it's a 2-pointer, but whatever. Instead of reducing the cooldown of Wildfire Bomb, so this is part of how they're reducing access to it. They're removing one of these talents that reduces its cooldown, and instead I'm making Wildfire Bomb do more damage. So essentially what it's going to feel like is you won't be able to spam bombs quite as much, but you will have way stronger bombs, and so the goal is that it will occupy roughly the same role in your sort of DPS breakdown, but you won't have to press quite as many of them. You can spend more time pressing raptors and mongooses. I'm basically okay with that. They've also nerfed Bombardier. So Bombardier is obviously whenever you cast Coordinated Assault, you gain 2 charges of Wildfire Bomb. Now it's only going to get you 1. I honestly think this is okay, because previously it was like... Currently the gameplay of Survival is like you want to dump all of your bombs before every single butchery, at least on AoE, and before every single Coordinated Assault. And with current Survival Hunter Mythic Plus builds on live, where you run a 45-second cooldown of Coordinated Assault, like this was just all the time. You're just constantly spamming bombs, often without tip of the spear, because you have to dump them before using these abilities that generate bombs. So a little bit less of that means that, we won't be quite as GCD bloated in terms of bombs. I'm okay with it. They've also redesigned the 4-piece bonus entirely. So when your winning streak ends, so your winning streak is basically whenever you cast Wildfire Bomb, it will increase the damage of your next Wildfire Bomb, and this will stack up to a certain point. Basically, a 15% chance whenever you cast your Wildfire Bomb that your winning streak can end. And now, when this happens, your next Mongoose or Raptor Strike will deal 400% increased damage and reduce the cooldown of Wildfire Bomb by 10 seconds. So this will make it So previously, it was basically... It will make your next kill command do extra damage and apply 3 stacks of Tip of the Spear. But the thing is, like, we're not really starved for Tip of the Spear stacks. So getting these extra Tip of the Spear, they would often be wasted on like Raptor Strikes on AoE and such. Well, now we're gonna get super powerful Mongoose Bites that are like Raptor Strikes that are absolutely gonna slap 400% increase. It's massive. And when you press it, it's going to reduce the cooldown of Wildfire Bomb by 10 seconds. So substantial improvement, I think, both numbers-wise and in terms of how rewarding and interesting it feels to press, to get your 4-piece proc. So quite happy with that. That's it for the overall survival changes. Next up is, so basically for Pack Leader, they have the same changes for Shell Cover as we talked about with BM. So Shell Cover triggers more easily and more often. They've also changed Pack Mentality, so that this used to be that when you summon a beast, you reduce the cooldown of Wildfire Bomb by 18 seconds, which is basically, just like Butchery and Coordinated Assault, another source of completely resetting your bombs to 2 charges. Just like they've nerfed Bombardier, they've also nerfed this 18 seconds to 10 seconds, and, it's strictly speaking a nerf, but they're compensating for it in other places, and I think it's better more healthy for the gameplay overall. Frenzy Strike's damage bonus increased to 40%. This is a compensatory buff for where it was contributing significantly more damage than intended to your Raptor Strikes. Now, I believe this might actually be a BM change that made it into to the survival nodes, unless I'm probably just mixing something up right now, but yeah. And then they've also changed the Howl of the Pack Leader stuff, just like they have for BM, where you don't have like degenerate gameplay with particular pull timers or wanting to rotate your beasts to the right one before a pull or before a Mythic Plus dungeon. So yeah, that's it for the changes, guys. This is like 95% of this is really good. A few concerns with a few of the things, but it's pretty rare that I'm so positively inclined towards every single change. And it's not just the changes, it's the fact that they're fixing so many bugs and really, paying attention to that spreadsheet. So be sure to check out that spreadsheet to check, especially if you work at Blizzard Entertainment, do check out the spreadsheet linked in the description, because it will be updated by our lovely people on the Hunter Discord for the latest bugs. And hopefully, they can keep this up. Like, this attention that Hunter is getting, especially here in this part of the PTR cycle, is very encouraging, so I hope it keeps up. And the feedback continues to be acted upon, and the bugs continue to be fixed. Pretty excited about Hunter going into the next patch, everyone. So, yeah, maybe you'll join me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.